Today, the destructive actions of our Western counterparts pose a clear threat to international peace and security. In Eurasia, and we are speaking of this continent, the West has designated certain nations as its competitors or adversaries. Indeed, all of its initiatives are directed against Russia, China, Iran, Belarus, Diplomat, and other countries that pursue sovereign domestic and foreign policies.
Putin's top diplomat, Sergey Lavrov, has reportedly exposed what he describes as a coordinated Western strategy aimed at escalating tensions into a wider global war. Lavrov claims that Western nations are simultaneously targeting Russia, China, and Iran, treating them as interconnected fronts in a single geopolitical confrontation. He warns that Eurasia is being steadily transformed into expanding war zones, raising serious concerns about a broader conflict that could spiral beyond control.
Today, the destructive actions of our Western counterparts pose a clear threat to international peace and security. In Eurasia, and we are speaking of this continent, the West has designated certain nations as its competitors or adversaries. Indeed, all of its initiatives are directed against Russia, China, Iran, Belarus, Diplomat, and other countries that pursue sovereign domestic and foreign policies. We are categorically opposed to any recurrence of armed aggression. We call for an immediate end to the use of force in the affairs of Iran and Lebanon. The unjustified use of military force against civilian infrastructure in Iran and its neighboring countries, including nuclear facilities under IAEA safeguards, clearly has no legal or moral justification. It is clear that a resumption of conflict in the Gulf region, and voices have once again been raised on this matter in recent days, would have far-reaching negative consequences both for the Middle East and for the world as a whole, including the global economy and trade. We welcome all mediation efforts aimed at advancing the process of resolving the situation surrounding Iran through political and diplomatic means. We advocate establishing a direct, honest dialogue between the key players. We are promoting a proposal for a compromise solution to the issue of Iran's stockpiles of enriched uranium. President Vladimir Putin has spoken about this on more than one occasion. These proposals are well known, and for the resumption of dialogue on the creation of a collective security system in the Gulf region involving all interested regional states and conscientious external players, including Russia, China, and other countries, the permanent members of the UN Security Council. The future of the region and its security depend on the ability of the countries located there to overcome the externally instigated conflict. In order to jointly ensure predictability and stability across the Middle East, direct and constructive dialogue between the Arab monarchies and Iran is essential. Since 2022, the neo-Nazi regime in Kiev, which was illegally installed in power by the West, has been used as a geopolitical and military springboard against our country. 4 years after this confrontation entered its active phase, it is impossible to deny the West's far-reaching original intentions. Just as 200 years ago, and just as 100 years ago, the West cannot come to terms with the very fact of Russia's existence as an independent entity representing a civilizational alternative to the West. I have said on more than one occasion that the conflict in Ukraine, provoked by NATO and the European Union, has led to the complete and final collapse, or perhaps has simply exposed the final collapse of the Euro-Atlantic security model, which had long been established in the western part of Eurasia under the close supervision of North America. The significantly intensified military exercises involving the U.S., South Korea, and Japan are also incorporating a nuclear component, adding further serious sources of tension to the situation on the Korean Peninsula. Despite India's support for the economic and transport agenda of the Quad, comprising the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India, efforts persist to give this group a military dimension as well. Alarming trends are also on the rise in the far north, where NATO is rolling out its programs to militarize the Arctic, turning it into a potential conflict zone. Increasing use is being made of the capabilities of Sweden and Finland, which joined the alliance under the fabricated pretext of a Russian threat. We have had absolutely no problems with these two countries, especially Finland, for many decades. Today, however, we are surprised to see how Helsinki has cast aside all the decorum it observed under the banner of neutrality after the Second World War, and now Helsinki has emerged as one of the leading Russophobes with such fervor as if it had been waiting for this very moment, thereby, I would say, reversing the Helsinki Final Act, returning to the path of supporting the Nazi camp, this time with the Kiev regime, at the forefront of the West's war against Russia.